It's like the original and is going to really, really explode. I think it looks wonderful. If this thing actually does work technically, it's going to be extraordinary. The really exciting thing first was seeing the model for the first time. It's an extraordinary set, and it is completely seamless. There are moments where you have to be huge with this. I mean, Coney Island, it's no point in doing Coney Island unless you see it. What Coney Island was like in its heyday, though, it was one of the 8 wonders of the world. In fact, Sigmund Freud said it was the only reason to go to America.
One of the great things about my plot within the show is that I get to explore to the fullest extent the amazing set that we have to work on. It's an enormous set, and it's over it's like a 3-story building.
When I saw the tent reveal where the tent flies out and the lights just go crazy and everyone starts singing, I was sitting with Simon Gleeson in the auditorium and we both just went. It was very music theatre, but I can't remember being in a theatre and actually having a sort of a physical reaction like that.
The show kind of oscillates between large-scale spectacle and quite intimate scenes, like 3-hander, 2-hander scenes, last for a long time. The other thing that I was very conscious of was that it needed to absolutely effortlessly flow. So a lot of our design time was spent with me kind of stop-watching the kind of link music. Although Andrew was great, he said, look, if you need more music written to cover scene change, he was very happy to do that. But there's something very beautiful about the flow of the piece, I thought. And so we worked a long time on just making sure that I felt comfortable that I could keep the show moving in a fluid way.
The one thing that did remain constant, and was the only idea that I quite liked, was the idea that it was set in America. And originally it was going to be set in Manhattan, and the original idea was that he'd become kind of Howard Hughes type figure and become the most powerful man in the New World. But this omnipowerful man was still pining for Christine. That was the original idea, and he therefore sent for her. We couldn't make it work because the problem with the story is that it hit really basically the same moment as we had in the original. And that was when, the Phantom sang to her directly on stage. We couldn't find a way through that. And then the idea happened about maybe he went to Coney Island, where he could have been among all the freaks and the oddities and the strange people who lived there. And of course it was a community of people who really couldn't live anywhere else.
We've been doing this show for quite a long time, and eight times a week. And the scale of it is something that we do nearly every day. And it's not just, again, the visual element of it. The cast and the orchestra that you hear are just a small snippet of kind of the machine of putting on something like this. And so you're working with 120 people across multiple departments, and it's just a huge juggernaut of a musical. And the beauty of that is what you see on film. That kind of massive scale means that you can do these kind of massive stories, and on sets like the one we've got.
It's like discovering this old world picture book and opening up, and every page is better than the page before, and it really, you are swept into this magical fairyland almost. You walk out on stage and you are facilitated as far as the acting journey goes, because this is your realm, this is your world. For a moment you forget that you are on set.
My world is beautiful. All of my most secret dreams.
Probably the most commonly asked question is, what's it like to play the Phantom? And, it's awesome. It's the thing with this character is that it's so important to so many people, and you know, it also comes with a great history. And so I've always thought of it like it makes my job a lot easier as an actor, because so many people already come understanding an element of the Phantom and who he is. So, you know, I just think it's a thrill, and the colours, both vocally and emotionally, that you get to explore in this particular show are basically a gift for any actor.
Hopes pass, let dreams pass, let them die. Without you, what are they for? I'll always feel no more than halfway real.
You know, it's been a thrill for me to be able to, you know, take that ride on every night and really explore the character to the fullest extent.
Christine has grown a lot in her journey from Phantom to Love Never Dies. In this show, I really love playing her as a mum. In Phantom, Christine's dealing with the grief of losing her father, really, and there's this really pivotal point in Phantom where she sings "Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again." It's sort of this big cathartic letting go for her of her father figure. So then in Love Never Dies, I feel like sort of a part of her has been kind of healed by becoming a parent herself.
I did it by what alchemy we've come up with, these two, but God, Ben and Anna are pretty fantastic, aren't they?
They're quite wonderful. We're so thrilled, and it was great to be able to, in the context of casting this in Australia, to have, you know, your name there, which meant that we could go to the perfect actors for the role.
And now they've played it together now for a bit too. Of
That's
course.
right. Yeah, they've really got
better.
the rhythms kind of sorted, and they both, I think what they both have is a really kind of a go-to ability about them. They, as performers, they draw you to them.
Oh, as soon as I found out that Simon was directing Love Never Dies, I just wanted to be involved with it even more. Simon works across all fields. He's directed huge shows like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. He is a great Shakespeare director, and he's also directed opera. So I was like, amazing, great. Tick.
See the wonders of our age, all assembled on our stage, too fantastic to be true.
To be part of a new production in Australia is a thrill in itself. You know, to create characters never seen before in Australia is a great honour. But to then have the additional experience of working with the composer, the Lord, Andrew Lloyd-Webber, here, and getting individual instruction from him and seeing him work with the orchestra was so thrilling, really culminating in that moment where he joined us on stage for the curtain call on opening night, which there was a standing ovation. I mean, I thought the roof was going to go off the house. It was so exciting, and he genuinely seemed pretty thrilled.
Having the composer here is really unusual for us because we don't often get access. You know, we are quite remote in Australia, and having Andrew here has been just amazing. Having him hanging over the pit rail, complimenting the orchestra, they're all full of smiles. It's been just a great experience collaborating with him on transitional music, scene changes, and putting the show together in the first place with him. Really, truly collaborating. It was just an incredible experience.
Very much of the play is really two people or three people. And it's really still, the core of the piece is the relationship between Raoul and Christine and the Phantom, with the twist, of course, of the child, which I think is delicious. I think that makes it, you know, much more intriguing. And that love story has to really be allowed to soar. And of course, the great joy of being able to film it is that you can get right in to what the characters are thinking, which in even in a medium-sized theatre, you can't see that. You have to let the music do it more for you.
With the set and costume design, I was racking my brains for someone who worked in curves, because I knew that I wanted the production to be kind of surrounded by the roller coaster. And I worked with Gabriella Telesova some years ago, and she's kind of stopped designing to have some children, selfishly. And I suddenly realised that Gabriella was the perfect person for this world, because I think she has a European aesthetic, which I think is great, as Maria Bjornsson had, who did the original Phantom. And I thought that kind of in a strange kind of subcutaneous way would bring things together. And she's also kind of incapable of drawing a parallel line. She just works in curves and beautiful shapes. Her sense of detail and her sense of the unusual and the grotesque is also very highly developed in a very beautiful way. So I knew that we'd have a lot of fun with the people of Coney, and that particular brief of the freak show that the Phantom shows Gustav, and how they need to be kind of both bizarre but also strangely beautiful.
My favourite costume changes from week to week. I've got 5 amazing costumes to wear in this show.
There are over 300 costumes in the show, to give you an idea of the scale of this production. I think I wear about 280 of them. It feels like that. I have a lot of costume changes, a lot of very, very fast costume changes. I literally leave the stage in one giant costume, in a split second reappear in another. There's a lot going on backstage. It's very, very crowded. There's, feathers and fur and human sculptures and freaks and contorted bodies and or petticoats and all sorts of things lining the hall. So it's pretty colourful.
And then Graham Murphy, I thought, it's an interesting show choreographically, because it's not really a typical kind of Broadway kind of musical. It has the very period sense of those little shows that Meg does within the work, but then other parts of the choreography are more organic and strange in the world of Coney Island. So it felt to me like it was a great show for Graham to do.
Sensation seekers seek every kind of living freak, and it's only for you. If it's marvel and illusion that your soul and body crave, you'll be leaving here content without a doubt. Are you ready? Are you willing? Are you braver than the brave? There's an oh-so-simple way of finding out.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity for all of us, in Australia to create this work with Andrew and to recreate the show, as it were. And I think it's been 20 odd years since Andrew was here last time. So it's a huge honour and a huge responsibility. But I think Andrew has found from being out here that we have an incredible energy and passion and drive in this country, and the company have worked so hard. We're all so proud of our work, and now we're thrilled that we get the opportunity to show the rest of the world something that's been created in Australia by an all-Australian cast and creative team and crew. It's pretty unique and pretty special.
There is an adage, an old adage, which I strongly believe in musical theatre, that if an audience, even if it's a subliminal thing, they don't really enjoy what they're looking at. They may not know that they're not enjoying what they're looking at, but it's an old saying that if you can't really look at it, you can't really listen to it as well.